words will never hurt me. No. The reality is this old adage just doesn't fly anymore because we know that words absolutely can and do hurt. We as adults know it as a reality because we ponder and search words to use them exactly how we want to use them, right? But do we ever consider how our children feel about words?
Ta-ta meaning thank you. Yes and no and please. Baba, mama, and dada. Our first words were these. Sweet words, innocent words that gave us a great start to what would be our vocabulary of things said from the heart. But as we learned more words, the more tainted they became. In a world of unhappy people who called us out our names, some words now made us sad. They were used to hurt our feelings. Innocence gone, leaving a child who is now in need of healing.
You tell me you hate my hair, is it because I don't? You act weird that I smile, is it because you won't? God gave you hair and a smile, so what is it about mine? That you want to call him ugly, that you want to dim my shine.
Is it envy that somehow drives you to say the words that you say? Are you dealing with things at home? Is brokenness why you act this way? Is it a heart of jealousy that makes you do the things you do? Is it your intent to hurt others because someone once hurt you?
You're a bully, that's what you are. You find new ways to attack at school, online, in a text. I wish instead you had my back. Why do you choose to hate me? What on earth did I do? Explain to me how you would feel if someone was bullying you.
You have to understand that words can hurt like taking a fall, like a really bad toothache or running face first into a wall. Words can actually cut like a knife. They can be unbearable. Words can make you want to end your life. I am a kid just like you, and I just really want to live a happy and carefree childhood. Can we please stop? Enjoying the best that it can give. Enjoying the best. Can we please stop the bullying so we can live in harmony? And as children grow up to become all that God will have us be.
What a fantastic presentation from the children. And now, all of us, including the panel, are gonna come down to the floor. And we're gonna just get started today. We're gonna give you, everyone to get a card. You're gonna have to get up and move around. If you're unable to move, you can stay seated and we'll move around you. Everyone has a card. No one left out. Here you go. I got one. So all we're going to do is get up. We're going to participate for a few moments The logic is called quiz, trade. You're going to stand up and you're just going to walk up to someone. You're going to read them what's on your card. If it's a question, answer it. Any way to interact with it. And we're going to just take a few moments and get exposed to what today is about. So let's go. Everybody get up. Meet up with one person. Once the two of you exchange, complete your cards, swap, and go talk to someone else. If you're looking for a partner, raise your hand so that a partner may find you. I've got a hand in the front and a hand in, oh, she just bounced. So do we go see somebody else? Swap, yeah, talk with somebody else. We want to wrap up. Hopefully, you've heard at least 3 or 4. But whichever interaction you're on, when it's over, you can return to your seat. Whatever card you're left with in your possession, you may return back to your seat as you complete your last interaction. Walking around, I was really engaged with some of the conversations. Some of the cards were examples of what bullying is. Some of the cards asked questions like, how do you feel when someone makes you feel bad? Or how do you feel when someone says something nice? But in all of the things that I heard, one of the cards I walked by, Deacon Westbrook and Miss Fanny were talking. The card asks, what's the difference between bullying and conflict? And just as we close this section out, because it was just to get our brains going, just to get us engaged, I want you to hear what Miss Fanny had to say about the difference between bullying and conflict.
Okay. The difference between what we said between bullying and conflict is when you have a disagreement with someone and you can probably resolve it. Bullying is something that you really do it on purpose and maybe repeatedly when you walk up to somebody and they say, I don't like your glasses, I don't like your shoe, give me your lunch, whatever, those kinds of things when you are just really being downright mean and malicious to a person. And conflict is not. I mean, there can be some good conflict, and there can be some bad conflict. So it's how you solve it, how you say what you say when you solve your conflict. But bullying is just downright, I'm on you, I don't like you, I just want to put you down. And that person may be feeling down himself or herself, and they want to put somebody else down to make them feel the way they are feeling.
Thank you, Ms. Fanny. I hope your conversations were as rich. I really want to challenge you to tune in. Keep your cards close. We may talk about them again, we may not. However, I want you to tune in and listen to our guest speaker as maybe she'll share with us some things that makes it all clear.
Well, hello everyone. First, giving honor to God and to the pastor and first lady of this church. I am excited to be here for the purpose of sharing information on a really important topic, something that's heavy but important to acknowledge and, get some education on so that we can be able to support our youth and that our youth can advocate and support themselves as well. So what we're going to cover today is exposing the realities of bullying for preventing bullying. I have a PowerPoint that should be coming up soon. There we go. So first off, I like to share a quote that spoke to me in regards to this topic. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. So in some of the cards here today that we read, you just never know what kind of day a person is having. And having kind words, or maybe just reading the room and taking a moment to see maybe this person is not having a good day, right? Or maybe they just need someone to be present with them, and we don't always have to speak because we don't always have the right words, but just being present for someone can make a big difference. And we're all going through something. We all have experiences, and some of us are more open to share, and some not so much, and that's okay. So for today's presentation, we'll do an overview of bullying. So we're going to define bullying. We're going to talk about different types of bullying. We'll talk about the signs of bullying, and then we'll talk about addressing bullying. First, I have a quick video that I'd like everybody to cue in on.
You can be bullied about how you look, what you're good at, or not good at, where you come from, or who your friends are. Bullying can be physical, someone hurting or shoving you, or stealing your belongings. Verbal, teasing and name-calling, or someone saying mean things about you. Or social, being left out of a group, or someone sending you nasty messages or images. But bullying is not the same as when you don't get on with someone. We have a fight all the time. That's not okay, but it's not bullying. Bullying is when someone uses power they have over you to try and hurt or upset you again and again. Anyone can bully another person. Bullying can be someone with lots of friends spreading rumors about someone with only a few friends. Someone who is good at sport or at schoolwork, regularly teasing someone else who isn't. A strong kid pushing a smaller kid over when a teacher is not supervising. A confident person calling a quiet person names to stop them from joining in lunchtime games. Or when someone keeps on sending nasty messages to someone else in a chat group online. You might feel scared, worried, or sad. These sorts of feelings can stop you from enjoying things, doing your schoolwork, wanting to go to school, and even sleeping. Even people who see bullying happen to other people can feel worried or sad. You feel like you can't stop it, and that can feel awful. But there are some things you can do. If you're being bullied, you can ignore them, tell them to stop, and then walk away. Pretend you don't care and act confident, even if you don't feel it at the time. Find somewhere safe, get support from your friends, talk to an adult who can help. If bullying happens online, leave the conversation on chat. Block and report the person. Protect yourself by using privacy settings on your mobile phone and social media, and keep records of any online bullying, like saving messages or taking screenshots. If you see someone being bullied in person, you can support them by walking away with them. If you feel safe to do so, you can stand up for them. If you see someone being bullied online, you could support them by saying something to end the bullying or leave the conversation. Remember, don't ever join in with bullying or do the same nasty things back to them. If the bullying doesn't stop, talk to someone like a parent, teacher, or other adult who can help. Keep asking for support until the bullying stops. Bullying is never okay. If you're being bullied, there are things you can do. You can get help and bullying can be stopped.
I thought this was a great illustration of what we're going to talk about today. And especially now that I'm here and I see all these beautiful little faces in here. Sometimes having an illustration for something really complex and we get into all these definitions can be very overwhelming. So I thought that video would be good as a good opener. So now we're going to dive into a little bit more of the deeper definitions. So bullying is a form of youth violence and is an adverse childhood experience. And the CDC defines it as unwanted aggressive behaviors by another group of youths or siblings or current people in the household. So it's not always just other children, and that's something that we need to acknowledge in the home or at school as well. It involves an observed and perceived power imbalance. So that means somebody who has control over you or who believes that they have control over you. So if there is a kid in your class who's larger than you, or if there's a kid on your sport team who may be a little bit more athletic than you, if this person feels like they have more power and control over you, they can use that to become a bully. By a show of hands from the video that we just saw, how many people in the room, including the adults, have experienced bullying? So if you take a look around, not to put anybody on the spot, that just goes to show you're not alone. Everyone in this room, for the most part, who was brave enough to raise their hand, has experienced some form of bullying. And they've been on the end of a situation where another person has made them feel smaller or uncomfortable, not happy about themselves. And we're adults, y'all, right? It's not just kids who experience bullying. And it can go into adulthood as well. So we're going to go to the next slide. There's two people who are impacted. Actually, there's more, but the main two people that are involved in bullying are going to be the aggressor or the person doing the bullying, and there's also the victim, the person being bullied. So bullies, or the kid who is bullying, engages in this behavior towards another person, and there are factors that contribute to their involvement in their behavior. So sometimes these students or other children or youth are experiencing things at home, whether it be abuse by the hand of a parent or older sibling, and at home, they are the victim. It doesn't justify their behavior, but they're experiencing something at home where they have no control or they feel powerless. So when they get into a different setting, like at school or at practice with other kids, what is being done to them at home, they are then doing to others. So now we're going to talk about the victim. Those are kids who are being bullied. And kids who are being bullied become targets for a number of reasons. You could be quiet or shy, not someone who, is outspoken, which is fine and it's okay. A person who maybe is not so athletic if you're on a sport team, but you're wanting to learn and you're trying to get better. It could be a person who may not have all these shiny things or super nice clothes or shoes that other people wear, so someone else will put you down because of it. And that was an example in the poem here today. And there are different characteristics that a victim will show that we'll go over later. So now we're going to talk about the types of bullying. There's physical, and we know what that means, right? When someone else puts their hands on you, when another person hits you or shoves you or pushes you, and they use that power to make you feel small. That also includes damaging of items. So if somebody takes your homework and rips it in half, that's a form of bullying as well, and that's physical. So even if they don't touch your body, if they don't hit you, taking something that does not belong to them, that is yours, and throwing it or damaging it, that is a form of bullying as well. There's verbal, which we also heard in the poem, which was amazing, by the way. We heard that, words, yes, sticks and stones. We've heard that saying over and over. I was even taught to say that as a kid, and it's not true. Words do hurt. They're very harmful, and we can internalize, which means as children, words can be said to us by other children or adults, and we start to believe those things about ourselves, and they're not true. Not true at all. Someone tells you that you're ugly. Someone tells you that your forehead is too big. Someone tells, things like that, and you start to believe it. For me, I'll give an example. I was always told my forehead was too big, but I got it out today. I would try to wear bangs or cover it up, but here I am. I was also told as a child that my lips were too big. And guys and ladies, people are paying for big lips, right? So that's just an example of some of the things that were said to me as a child that I didn't grow out of until I was an adult and started to love myself more. So verbal, we talked about that. So social and relational, this one is rough too. So especially for the ladies, little girls. Has anybody in here heard of the movie Mean Girls? Oh man. So in school, I can remember myself just being a little bit of an oddball. I didn't necessarily fit into a specific group. I also went to church, so that made me a little bit different than some other girls at my school. I was an athlete as well, very athletic. And so because of that, sometimes we heard about jealousy in the poem. That's a real thing. And so you can get put out of social groups or get picked on in terms of just being different and feel like an outcast. And if there are people in your social group, which means the circle of people around you, who are picking at you or making you feel like you're not good enough to hang out with them, it's probably because they think you're really cool and they're intimidated by you. And then something that's really important to cover as well is cyberbullying. So in all the other forms of bullying that we talked about today, or that was just covered, cyberbullying is one that can follow you everywhere. So the other forms are at school, at a social event, at church, depending on where you are. The bullying can stop once you leave that person or you leave that group. But cyberbullying, because of phones and tablets and computers in the society that we live in now that is heavily focused on social media, anytime you have a child that has access to these items, to technology, it doesn't stop, right? So it could be it's not like traditional bullying because, like I said, it can follow you anywhere. And kids can be more relentless and cruel because they don't have to face the person, you know? It's literally just, they can type whatever they want, they can share whatever they want, and there's no consequences for the most part. And this type of victimization is, the consequences can be more severe because if a kid comes home with a black eye because a bully has punched them at school, that's visible and we can see it. And we're gonna show up. We got a problem at the school, right? But when you have a child that has social media and they have direct messaging, if they're not even supposed to be on social media anyway and they're sneaking, right? Then those messages are hidden. Those messages a parent may not know about. And so whatever that bullying that's taking place, the child might be handling that issue alone and internalizing those things. So for the little ones in here who are on social media or you do have phones and things, be mindful of that. And it's a reminder, as parents, I have an 8 and a 10-year-old boy, 2 boys, 8 and 10. I'm checking, I'm in their business, right? I'm nosy, as I should be. So it's just a reminder for us to check our children's stuff if they have access to these things. Next, there's a visual of the different effects of cyberbullying. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on cyberbullying, but it is so, so important. Isolation, depression, illness, maybe the depression might manifest in stomach aches, not wanting to go to school, feeling humiliated, anxiety, anger. You have a child who's, their baseline, and they're coming home or at home, and they're changed, their behavior is changing, and you don't know what it is. You haven't heard anything from the teachers. They don't have any physical signs of injury, but it's something going on. It could be social media. It could be somebody bullying them. They posted a picture of themselves that they thought was really cool, or a little TikTok dance with a friend, and now you got people making negative comments, and they're internalizing those things. The next slide, why is bullying important? Why is it a problem? It's a problem because it's widespread across the United States, and it negatively impacts youth involved in the bullying, but also others. So it's the bully, the victim, the bystanders, and different witnesses or people seeing the bullying going on. So it's not just the 2 children involved that are impacted by this. Statistics show that nearly 14% of public schools have reported bullying is a discipline problem occurring on a day-to-day basis, at least once a week where it's actually reported, right? That's just when it's reported. That's just when a child is brave enough to go and step out and say something, or when an adult can see it happening and then they do something about it. Reports of bullying at the highest in middle school age, right when our kids are getting out of that elementary age, like I would say more innocent, not necessarily knowing who they are. I mean, it still takes us a while to get there, but specifically in middle school, they're saying that it gets worse. Followed by high schools at 16%. And reports of cyberbullying is the highest in middle schools at 33%, followed by high schools at 30%. So again, it has its own separate category, cyberbullying, because it is so bad. So consequences of bullying. Bullying can result in physical injury, social and emotional distress, self-harm, and even death. We heard that also in the poem, right? It can push a child to suicidal ideations, thoughts, and even plans. which is why it's a huge, huge issue that needs to be discussed, even though it's a heavy topic and can be very triggering for others. It's something that is necessary to be discussed. It can cause depression, again, anxiety, sleep difficulties. If you have a student that's performing at high academic levels and they're being bullied and it's unchecked and nobody's checking on them, or they don't yet have they're not courageous enough or haven't found it in themselves to go and seek help, their grades can decline. And a kid that was doing extremely well in school can go in the opposite direction because they're struggling and no one knows. There are other things that bullying can lead to as a child gets older: substance abuse, more academic problems, and even experiencing violence, right? So then a child that's a victim can become a bully themselves because they haven't been properly taught how to advocate or defend themselves, so then they just repeat the behavior. This was done to me, so I'm gonna do it to someone else. Signs of bullying: unexplained injuries, right? Coming home with scars and bruises. And sometimes it's not scars and bruises, just doing check-ins at the dinner table. My oldest son was being bullied at school. Had it not been for us sitting around the dinner table and just simply asking, "How's your day today? What'd you have going on? Tell me what was the best part about your day, and tell me something that you would change about your day," right? I wouldn't have known, because there were no physical signs of injury, that my son was being bullied at school. But once I found out, we took the proper actions, my husband and I, to go and make sure that it was handled. And then also to make sure that we have follow-up conversations with our son. I clearly don't promote violence, clearly. But in my household, we also teach we won't be bullied. We will advocate for ourselves. And there's a way to handle it without responding in violence and going over ways to do that. Lost or destroyed clothing, books, electronics, jewelry. We talked about that earlier. Just because someone is not physically harming you, it does not mean that they're not bullying you. It could be your things that they're taking away. Changing in eating habits, skipping meals, binge eating, coming home from school hungry because they did not eat lunch. So if a child is getting lunch money and that's being taken away, or if a parent is taking their time to pack a child's lunch and somebody at school is jealous or they want the child's lunch, they may not tell. They may feel embarrassed, honestly, to come home and talk about it. So we have to find a way to make them feel comfortable to talk about those things. Sudden loss of friends, avoidance of social things, right? No, I don't want to go there. Oh, you love going there. You sure you don't want to go to urban air? Who in here loves urban air? Who in here loves trampoline parks? So if a parent asks you, do you want to go to urban air? If you say no, we're going to think something's going on. Because those places are fun, right? Right. 1 in 5 high school students report being bullied at school in the last year. So 1 in 5, that means that's a lot. That is a lot. 1 in 5 high school students, and 1 in 6 high school students report being cyberbullied in the last year. So addressing bullying, we can, as parents, go to principals, school administrative staff, school resource officers, right? Schools have school resource officers. If you find out that your child is being bullied, go meet up with the school resource officer. You know, build a relationship with them so that way, if you can say, hey, son or daughter, I know officer such and such, or I know Sergeant Johnson. If you build a relationship with the school resource officer at the school, depending on the severity of what's going on at the school, you already know you have a contact and somebody that you can reach out to. Lord, hopefully, and Lord willing, it doesn't escalate to a situation where police need to get involved. But if you do, it's always better to have the relationship in advance so you know that you can trust this person, but also you know I'm not playing about my kid and I need somebody that I can call and I can talk to about this that I trust already, right? Because it can be a patrol officer, but if it's somebody that's at the school that's already working in the hallways with the kids, they may already know the child who is the bully, right? They may already know, hey, we know what's going on with such and such. Yep, we already know who it is, right? So it's not a matter of necessarily trying to investigate if it's true or not, but just now that we know about it, what do we do moving forward to make sure that your child is safe? And then students, right? Students can also help, or friends can help with addressing bullying, right? It could be a slippery slope there, but it is nice to have friends that will advocate for you. I would say it's better to have an adult, to get an adult involved, but if you have a friend, or if you are the friend that can stand up and speak up for a friend that's being bullied, that's great. But get an adult involved as well, a trusted adult. Specifically regarding cyberbullying, there are laws in the state of Tennessee that some people may not know about regarding cyberbullying. So a person who commits cyberbullying or cyberstalking in Tennessee can face serious criminal penalties, including substantial incarceration, time, and hefty fines. So young people have always encountered bullying, but cyberbullying, like I said before, is taking a whole different turn, and it occurs on an electronic format. So if a person or a child, which I've seen, not the same age group here, but a little bit older, if a person is cyberbullying or cyberstalking, take screenshots. If you have another child that is picking on your child via social media, take screenshots of it. If you've tried what you can do in terms of communicating or reaching out and trying to figure out how to get it to stop and it does not stop, because then there are other actions on the side of the law, depending on the severity of what is going on, where law enforcement can get involved, and it's an issue, right? We talked a little bit about into the mind of a bully already in terms of them being victims themselves. So this doesn't mitigate what they're doing to another child, but just understanding where the behavior is coming from and addressing that. And what can victims do? So if you're being bullied, we talked about reporting to school authorities, depending on the severity, getting the police involved. And there are also other hotlines and things where you can reach out. Even as a parent, if you don't know, or you haven't reached this before with your child, or maybe it's the first child, right? And you're not sure, like, oh, I haven't experienced this before, I'm not sure what to do or where to go from here. There are hotlines you can call and request help on how to move to the next step or move forward. And hopefully you're getting that assistance help from the school or whatever institution, wherever it's taking place. Hopefully you're getting the help there. And what can bystanders do? So bystanders can become upstanders. So what does that mean? If I'm a bystander, it means that I'm just standing by and I'm seeing what's happening, right? I'm not engaging, I'm not helping, I'm just kind of watching, I'm not sure if I want to get involved. But if I have it in me to be brave and to want to help someone else and to see that what's being done is wrong, I can become an upstander, which means I'm going to stand up for the other person, right? So being careful in doing that, because you also don't want to get yourself in trouble at school, right? But if there's a way for you to stand up for the person, and even if that's going and running and telling the teacher or another adult in the room, that's good too. If the teacher can't see what's going on because they have a whole classroom full of little ones that they're responsible for and they don't see what's happening, go get the teacher, even if it doesn't involve you, because you saw something wrong happening. If you see something, you can say something. So where do you fit in the cycle? You could take a minute and reflect. If you're a bully, have you bullied someone? If you're a victim, are you a supporter of a victim? And are you a defender, right? So I would classify myself as a defender. So I'll tell you in a little bit more detail about what I do before I close. So I am a sergeant with the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, but I'm also the program director for the Nashville Police Activities League. In the Nashville Police Activities League, we have a mission to connect kids, cops, and communities. We have 4 pillars: education, intervention, mentoring, and activities. So my role is to create activities and opportunities for youth all across Nashville. We have a boxing program, we have a basketball, we partner with parks, we sponsor flag football teams, we do summer camps and take kids to museums, take them to go paddleboarding if they've never been for the first time, and kayaking, and we try to create experiences for families who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford extracurricular activities. So all of our activities are free, and that's done with intention. The activity is just the vessel for us to reach out to kids who are overlooked, whether that's at school, or maybe they don't feel like they're athletic enough, they don't feel comfortable. We have kids who come to us specifically because they're being bullied in schools. We have a kid that even comes from out of county. He has a number of different health things going on, but he comes and he participates in the program, and it is a way to help him. He's in our boxing program to make him feel better about himself, to build up his self-efficacy. So that's when he looks at himself, he feels good about himself. That's what that means, little ones. We have kids who come to our programs who are not doing well in school, but we know the kids who don't do well enough in school to participate in extracurricular activities, and then they're turned away from sports because they don't have a GPA requirement, or maybe they're acting up in class. So they already have a bad reputation for, the coaches are like, no thanks. I'll welcome them. Come on over, because I don't want them to slip between the cracks. So when we have those kids come into our program, sometimes we do experience they are bullying or trying to bully some of the other kids in our program, and we address it. It does not go unseen, and because of the small numbers, kids are not, it's not missed. So we're very intentional about making sure that we see signs of kids who are bullying. We get to dig, and we get the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and find out what's going on at home. And a lot of times we find out, sometimes they're not eating. If their hygiene is bad, we find out why, and we get them resources for that. If they are one of 7 kids, and mom or dad or whoever doesn't have the capacity for whatever reason to give them this attention when they come with us, whether it's 1 day a week or 2 days a week, or they get to be with us all summer, we're making sure that some of the things that they're experiencing in their lives where they have become, maybe they're a victim at home, so then when they come to our programs with other kids, they are bullying. We're making sure that we try to combat that with the way that we attend to them. So that is what I do with the Nashville Police Activities League. And I am done, and I would love to welcome this amazing panel to pick up and fill in wherever I left off.
Thank you, Sergeant Johnson. Were you all able to get the video, media team? Okay, at this time you're going to look at a video of some students here at MNPS, and basically just ask the question, what's a bully? Who's a bully? Are you a bully? And of course they all just want to give really quick, brief answers. No one really wants to talk about it, but we'll share this video with you now.
A bully is someone that like pick on somebody for like no reason, or just pick on them just to be picking on them. But like, not everybody a bully, but like some people you can't just pick out one single person. You gotta pick out the whole group, or just focus on somebody just at a time.
A bully is when somebody like pick on somebody or like try to fight them like every day. Who's a bully? A bully is like he probably like have something going on in his family. Then like he just wanna like pick on people, get your anger up. So a bully is a person that pick on people for no reason to feel better about themselves, basically.
Someone that like intimidates or like pick on somebody.
I feel like someone who try to intimidate or beat somebody up for no reason or talk about somebody.
A bully is somebody that like picks on someone for no reason or for a reason.
A bully is someone that seeks harm every day to a person.
What's a bully?
I think a bully is a person who picks with people and who be talking about other people, or be like pick with them because they know that they're like weak and stuff, or they don't have something that they have, so they pick with them.
Somebody that pick on somebody for not having like cool shoes or clothes or something like that, or like somebody that don't have nice things.
A bully is someone who doesn't take people's feelings into consideration and just picks on them for no reason.
I mean, I'm not a bully for sure, but sometimes I be picking on people a little bit.
If I'm a bully, I ain't no bully. No.
Have you ever bullied? Are you a bully?
No,
Have you ever bullied anyone?
I don't think so. No.
Are you a bully?
No.
Have you ever bullied?
No.
Have you ever been bullied?
Yeah.
How were you bullied?
I don't know, like they would just talk about me, and that's it.
Are you a bully?
Somewhat. Because, I mean, I don't like her. I mean, we got the fighting, so I don't like her.
So you continue to bully?
I mean, I guess, yes, I continue to bully.
Are you a bully?
I'm not gonna say I'm a bully, but like, I think that's how me and my friends play. Like, we talk about each other, like in a playful way, though.
Do you think any of your friends ever think it's not playful, but they just go along with it?
Sometimes. But sometimes, most of the time, you'll be playing.
Are you a bully?
No.
Have you ever bullied?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been bullied?
No.
I wouldn't say I am a bully, but I did talk about somebody, but as I got older, I realized that you never know what somebody's going through, so you really can't talk about them and everything like that.
The cool part about interviewing them, and as adults, we have to pay attention. And thank you to Mr. Bell. This was actually in his office, and he got the students for us. But if you start listening to them talk to each other, they start to say, well, I think so-and-so really don't like it when you joke on them like that. Yes, he do. He don't care. Well, no, he just want to play along with it, but he don't like it. And so they started talking to each other, and they were having their own little conversation, and they were giggling about things, but I think it brought it to their attention to start thinking about it. So even with your own children, ask them, are you a bully? What is a bully? You know, have you been bullied? Do you bully? And a lot of times we don't think about those things. So we're going to talk about a lot of those different things here on this panel. And we're going to first start and bring back Dr. Monica Ball, who's been in education for a very, very long time. Wait a minute, that's a bully. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Monica.
Thank you. My contribution, or what I would like to share or add to what's happening today, is the power of kindness. If we're really going to combat bullying, we're going to have another approach, because I've seen the best of kids from the best of families do not communicate with the adults. So I'm going to talk about something I learned, and it guides how I deal with the young people in my classroom, and maybe it'll make a difference for you. Did you know? Well, first, if you envision the emotional well-being of your young person as a bank account, then we understand deposits and we understand withdrawals. For every one negative that is put into them, it takes 7 positives to balance it out. Well, how does that help us combat bullying? Those of us that are here that are empowered to work with young people, to own young people, to have, own might not be a good word, but we have to pour into them like crazy just to keep them emotionally balanced for the negativity they'll face when they're out of our presence. So when I'm teaching children's church, it is my goal to say at least one super positive, reaffirming thing to every kid I touch. Nobody's going to be bullied on Sunday morning, but I want to pour it into their bank account. So I challenge you, as you touch on your grandchildren, your nieces, people in the community outside, it doesn't cost a thing to be kind. The best way we can overcome some of this hurt is to just step up and start showing love to one another. So, bystanders, I think in new terms, I'm just getting exposed to these terms. I don't like bystanders the most. I want to empower bystanders, the people who are standing by watching the bullying occur. If Felicia here is saying mean things to Stephanie, I can walk by and say something really positive to Stephanie. The poem that she wrote that the children put on this morning was phenomenal. I can pour into Stephanie. And because, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Natalia comes behind me and says, Stephanie, those locks are locking. She poured something in. So that's what I mean by the more positive that we pour into one another is our biggest way to combat the harm and hurt of bullying. And it's something within all of our control. Anytime I observe something that's not right, I can be nice. I can help. I don't want to take too much time. We definitely want your questions, so I'll pass. But that's my perception and what I have to offer for ending.
Thank you, Monica. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Monica or piggyback off something she said? She really liked what you said. She's filling your bucket. Anyone else?
I think positive affirmations are amazing. And mine began with, I am somebody. I am somebody's sister, mama, favorite cousin. Whatever your affirmations are, the point of that is once you value yourself, when you throw a negative at me, it doesn't hurt me the same. So I definitely am a fan of positive affirmation. But more importantly, I want parents to tune into, and I bring this up a lot. How do you pour into your children on their way to school? Are you fussing and fighting in the morning? Are you pouring negatives in their account? What's taking you so long? We have a lot of power in how we set up their day. And I really want parents to be vulnerable and to try to look at themselves as bullies through that lens, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Because it's only when we look at the uncomfortable that we can make real strides to really help our children. Children need positive interactions from us all the time. Be careful how you get ready to go to school. You make too much negative interaction in the morning and your child doesn't stand a chance to learn anything that day. Lord forbid, one social negative comes their way. So just that's another way to empower us and for us to think about that. Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Well, once again, my name is Felicia Reed Kidd, and I'm a classroom management specialist, and I support all the high schools here in Metro Nashville Public Schools. I've been an educator for over 20 years, and I've literally, and I know it's hard to believe I look 25, but I've taught every grade K through 12, literally. So I've had kindergartners and I've had 18, 19-year-olds in my classroom in front of me. It wasn't until I got in the position that I am in now that I actually see what's happening in our schools. So yes, I support all high schools, but I actually go into all metro schools. And I'm in the SEL department, the social and emotional learning department, and we do walkthroughs. I hear teachers demeaning our students. I hear other adults, and I hear children, and I see teachers pick on kids about their hair, about their clothes, about their shoes. I hear students pick on kids about what they are wearing. I have a 22-year-old and I have a 22-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. And a lot of people get upset with me because I intentionally make sure, if nothing else, he has the right shoes. And people say, I know everyone can't afford shoes, but what I don't want is him to get picked on because his shoes, because I see it every single day. So our agreement is, hey, you take care of the classroom and you're good on the football field, the baseball field, the basketball court, and you got those grades, don't worry about it. Mom and dad will take care of those shoes. But I'm aware that everybody can't do that. We have kids that literally come into schools with shoes 3 times too big or too small and holes in them. We have kids that come in and if you're not watching, they're wearing the same clothes day in and day out. And as adults, if we're not recognizing it and getting a hold of them, as parents, if you're struggling, our schools, we have community in Cheese, we have community in schools. We can help if it's something said. But a lot of times we're embarrassed and we don't want to say anything, and our kids are taking that abuse. They're getting picked on. If they smell somebody's looking next to them and they're saying things. And they're embarrassed, they're hurt. And I see adults not even recognizing it in the school. So if you see that, if you notice a kid in your neighborhood, if you see they have a need, meet the need as best as you can. Ask help. We did it right here in the church. We collected over 500 pairs of shoes to give the kids. And most people went out and bought brand new shoes or slightly used shoes. We have sneakerheads in our church that wear shoes 2-3 times, and then they're just in the closet. Think about those kids that need, and think about giving those back because they really, really, really are embarrassed by this. I heard in a poem, they said, what are those? That was a whole TikTok thing. Kids were literally going up to other kids and recording them and going up to them, what are those? And most adults didn't know what that meant. They were bullying them about their shoes. How many of y'all knew what it meant when they said it in the poem, when Kim said, what are those? That was literally a TikTok trend. And they will record your child and share it with the world. That's bullying. And that's embarrassing, and that is hurtful. And we expect them to conjugate a verb that day. It's not happening. And so I want us to really be mindful of not just your own children, but the children around you in our church, in our community, in the stores. Everybody know me, know I was called the begging teacher. I kept stuff in my classroom. I got on social media. I asked people for things. I still ask people for things. Because our kids really cannot learn if they're being picked on and bullied about their hair. We have parents who don't even bother to comb girls' hair. I've sat there, when we talked together in Buena Vista, I had a little girl acting a whole fool in my classroom. I didn't know why. Didn't know why. She didn't want to take her hood off. And sure enough, I saw her hair, and she cried. And you know what I did? I got on social media. And one of our church members, his daughter-in-law, Blair Hood, came to my school and brought 3 other friends with her. Not only did that little girl get her hair done, about 4 of the girls in that school got their hair done that day. And I'm one of those teachers that would ask for forgiveness, not permission, but you should call the parent first and ask, but I didn't. I would just get their hair done and say, hey, your child coming home with a new hairdo. Your child coming home with new shoes. But we should ask permission. But we need more of that in our community to combat this bullying. And now that I'm in the high schools, y'all, I've had girls tell me, if I want it, I'm gonna take it. If they can't get it and their parents can't buy it, guess what they're gonna do? And your kid has it, they're gonna take it. And then your child won't say anything to you, and they'll tell you, I lost him, I left him at practice, I did this, because they're afraid. This is real. And I've witnessed it, I've seen it, and it's happening. And we need to come up with solutions on how we can do it. It's not just a school problem. This is a community. We have to do this together. Any questions, comments, concerns?
How often is that taking reported as criminal activity? Is it criminal activity?
So like you said, a lot of times in schools when this type of thing is happening, it's not reported. But it is a crime to steal. Anytime another person takes an object that doesn't belong to them, especially if it's by force. We didn't even talk about that part. So if there's a situation where a child has a pair of shoes and a group of kids are physically making contact with a student that's taken by force, that's absolutely a crime. But there can only be something done about it if it's reported. if you have students or kids who are being bullied to this level and they're ashamed or afraid, or they feel like they're not going to advocate for themselves, or they don't have a parent or somebody in their lives or somebody at the school that they can talk to and do something about it, then no. But if we know about it, we do something about it.
I can speak to that. It depends on the situation. A lot of time we have retaliation with regards to bullying or physical altercations, and when we know about the retaliation, there is codes that those students may receive expulsion or suspension. We had a situation in our school where a student they were cyberbullying him, and then when he retaliated, he didn't retaliate, he went to go get his shoes back. And then once he got his shoes back, the fight occurred. And then after the fight occurred, another student made a video in retaliation, threatening, basically cyberbullying, saying that when I see you, I'm gonna get you. And once we got word of that video and we saw the video, then he was reprimanded, basically mean he was sent to alternative school. So like Sergeant Johnson says, once the schools know about something, then they can act. It's just that a lot of students, they don't report it. That's the biggest issue. And that's where schools have to create a culture where students feel that they can come to us and tell us about certain things, because it is our job to make sure that they're safe. And sometimes it's our job to make sure they're safe out of school. So we try to take that seriously as far as making sure that they feel safe enough to come and tell us, so that we can respond to certain things. Because I know a long time ago we didn't have the power. Something happened outside of school, the school couldn't get involved. But they changed the handbook and the rules to where now if something is even happening outside of school and it's affecting the school, that we can get involved and we can have codes for those and issue behavior consequences. But we do have, retaliation does happen, and we try to act swiftly when we are notified and they tell us about it.
Another issue that we're noticing that in our schools, when I interview students, that they'll say, our teachers don't talk to us, or our parents don't talk to us. And when I say don't talk, I mean those real life conversations, not just, how many of you just, the child get in the car, how was your day? Okay. And we think that's talking to our child. You know, what you do in school today? Most of the time the kid's gonna say what? Nothing. That's their response. And that's the most conversation that a parent and child has, because everybody's doing this all day long. And I'm guilty. I've texted my children from one room to the next, bring me something to drink. I'm guilty. But we have to get away from this. We have to start having these conversations with our children and making them open to be able to tell you what is going on. Men, we have to stop thinking that if your son doesn't want to fight or take care of themselves physically, that they are a punk, they're weak, they're soft. So therefore, they're not going to tell you about this because they don't want your retaliation on them. A lot of times, kids will tell you, Mama so-and-so pick with them. Hit them back. That's the response. Or you don't let anybody say anything to you. All our kids are not built that way. All our kids are not fighters. I know LJ will tell you in a minute, he don't want no problems. He's the latest man. And he's a jokester like his mom. He loves to crack jokes. And he'll come home and tell Mama, that kid hit me. He said, I stood up, but I sure wasn't gonna do nothing. I was glad the teacher came because I wasn't finna do anything. And he's big. He's bigger than most kids, and you would think he would want to. No, he is not a fighter. He don't want any problems. He don't want any trouble. And I recognize that about my child. Trinity don't want trouble. I remember when she was bullied because girls will pick on you because they like, she thinks she all that. She thinks she's cute. And they will really believe that. Why do you think that? Do you know her? No. I used to tell her, put the biggest books in your backpack. Somebody come up on you, swing that backpack. I know that's the wrong advice. I know. I'm an educator. But if you're in this, stop laughing at me. This is the truth. Because if you're in the schools and you see what we see on a daily, we should have a reality show. You all would not believe the things that are said and done. And can I tell y'all who's getting bullied the most now in schools? The teachers. The teachers. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna chime in on that one. One thing, as an educator, and all the years, and all of us can speak on that too. One thing about kids, if they find that teacher, that coach, that counselor, that dean, when they find that person that they can trust, we know everything that go on in your home. We know how their parents talk to them, and we become a counselor. We become the surrogate parent. They want to go home with you because they don't want to return home. And so you have to find that medium. You got to find a way where you're not insulting their parents or their friends. You got to find a way to keep encouraging them, like Monica said. You got to find that affirmation that they said and put it in them. And sometimes that's the only cheerful thought, the only time somebody reaches out and really just talks to them. I remember one of the things when I was telling Mr. Bell, when I first started teaching, I taught at Jerry Baxter. And I remember to this day a teacher who was bullying a kid because he would not take off his jacket. So I was kind of the room, everybody, go to Coach Hood's room. You know, I don't know why, but just go to Coach Hood's room. Hey, get over in the corner, do your work. So one day I just asked him, I said, man, why you won't take your jacket off? He's mad, he said, I'm gonna do it. I said, come here. After lunch, we sat down. I said, man, unzip your coat. What's wrong? Clothes dirty. I mean, filthy. So I said, okay, we got a problem. So I went to the principal and told him, this is why he won't talk to her. She treated him so bad. So finally, just every day, he got sent to my room. So we made a deal. I said, if you can get through class without getting in any trouble, I'll make you my manager on the basketball team. I went home, got a bunch of my son's clothes that they couldn't wear, went to his house, and told his mom, said, hey, I got some clothes that my sons can't wear anymore, so forth and so on. Years later, when I moved into high school, this same kid walked up to me and said, how you doing? Ain't you Coach Hood? I said, yeah. I didn't know who he was. Like 6'5", big old boy now. And he said, you don't remember me, do you? And I went, nah, you got to tell me your name. And he told me his name, and I looked at him. He said, you the one. I gave him a leather jacket, old leather, just handed down, had all the NBA teams on. And when I gave it to him, and I said, you can keep that jacket as long as you don't stay in trouble. Get in trouble, got to give it up. And I couldn't shake the kid. We got a game today? No, we got practice. Be at practice. Go get the water. You know, gave him stuff to do. But when he came up to me and said, this is what you did for me, man, that did it. That did it. They don't forget. They're going to remember everything bad that happened to them, and they're going to also remember everything good that happened to them. And hopefully the good part, they'll pass it on. They'll do something that'll, help motivate another kid. Or that kid might turn out to be the one who will walk up to a bully and say, you better leave him alone. I've seen that happen too, where kids will walk and say, nah, you're not going to be picking on them, man. You ain't bothering nobody. Those are kids I kind of like, that way I don't have to do it because I don't like bullies. I'll be honest with you. And, but we all have stories. And Felicia's right. When you're the teacher and you get bullied and we don't have any, like you said, retaliation, we get in more trouble than anybody. I know just about everybody up here have had that one kid that cussed them out or whatever. I'm going to tell this quicker and I'm going to let somebody else speak. Monica and I taught at McGavick together. We were on the same team. So the kids, because Monica was so cool at how she put them out of class, I'm going to tell on her now. She was so cool how she put them out of class. They would come to my class and complain about it. I would just sit there and listen to them. They get through, man, Dr. Ball, this, just go off. And I say, you know, I've been knowing Dr. Ball since she was a little girl. What? I said, man, Dr. Ball go to the same church. I've never seen her treat anybody mean. What are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. And I always had that one kid who loved her. I love Dr. Ball. And I said, well, why does she love her, but you don't? So what are you doing? But they would complain and complain. But a lot of times, like she said, the best way to handle it, you got to do it. You can do it even though inside you burning up. But if you do it in a way where they standing there looking silly, and that's something that you can't teach that. That's something you just have to work on. Because like Dr. Ball, I had a way about putting it. I just sit and look at him. I say, you finished? You feel better? Get your backpack and go sit outside for a while, man. When you feel better, come on back. But if you don't feel better, deuces. We're not going to argue in here. This is my room. We're not arguing in here. I don't argue with children. So if you got something to say it. But you got to find a way. Sometimes they just need to express themselves. Sometimes they don't do it real well, but, you know, you just let them have the floor for a minute.
But to add to what you're saying, as a whole in schools, we don't address the issues that we need to. We have a lot of mentoring programs. We're actually in the process of building a girls' mentoring program from the ground up. But as a whole, no. Relationships with teacher-student, yes. But our districts, all we care about currently right now is test scores. That's most important, and we're not understanding that social and emotional part. However, I will say MNPS is leading the country in social and emotional learning. It just hadn't totally transferred into every teacher, adult in the building. Because we have some old school adults believe you just do what I say, not as do as I say, not as I do, and don't talk back and just come in here and sit down. So we're working on it. We're trying. Keep praying for our district and our leaders, and hopefully we can, yes, because in some states like Florida, you can't even talk about social emotional learning. It's banned. And we need to pray that that doesn't happen here in Tennessee.
I do want to say from a school counselor perspective, we do try, but there are a lot of other things that we have to do, of course, throughout the day. You can't always get in the classroom, but at an elementary level, we do have some classroom lessons on bullying, but it's not probably as many as we would like. And then I can imagine that at middle school, it's probably less because of the way it's structured. Again, in elementary, you can do more classroom than you can in middle school or high school. It may then go into groups, but we do need to have more conversations concerning it, especially inviting the parents into those platforms to discuss it.
Mr. Bell, can you talk to us about what MNPS considers bullying, the MNPS definition of bullying?
Oh, I brought it with me. MNPS, so when parents, when your kids come home, and I tell all the parents, they send home a handbook for a reason. And I know a lot of parents, you get the handbook and you might just pass it off or throw it away. But everything that you need to know and how to hold your school and the leaders accountable is in that handbook. So anytime you want to file a complaint or you have questions about anything, regardless of discipline or the buses or teachers, is in that handbook. The code of conduct is in that handbook. The SEL integration is in that handbook. It's thick and I know it's long, but go through it and read it so whenever you need to go up to the school and complain about something, you can quote, well, your MNPS handbook says this, this, and this. And the principal or whoever you talk to, you can hold them accountable because you know what you're talking about. A lot of times they expect parents to not know the handbook or not know what they're talking about so they can use teacher jargon or big words to push you out of the building. So make sure that you get the handbook, you go through the handbook, and you also talk to your kids about what's in the handbook so that you will know how to hold your school or the school leaders accountable. But basically what the MNPS handbook states is that any intentional act that is severe, persistent, or persuasive, and substantially interferes with a student's educational benefits, opportunities, or performance, and has an effect on physical harm of a student, damaging student's property, knowingly placing a student in responsible fear of physical harm, causing emotional distress to a student, or creating a hostile educational environment. That's considered bullying. And a lot of the times when we get bullying complaints, it has to meet those three categories in order to be determined as bullying. It has to be either severe, so something can happen one time and be severe. It can be so bad that it's severe, or it has to be persistent, or that's basically repetitive. Something that's happening over time, constantly, like the video that Sergeant Johnson put up. It's somebody who's in power constantly over time. That's persistent or persuasive. That's basically when you causing emotional distress or creating a hostile environment or interfering with a child's education. Like if a student comes and says, I don't want to come to school anymore, that is a telltale sign that the bullying has occurred. And then that's when we take it and we conduct an investigation. But parents also, it's not just reporting to the school that your child is being bullied. You can also go online, a website called Guardian. If you Google Guardian and MNPS, it will take you to a website where you can file a complaint, and that goes to the district. And then the district will send an email to the principal saying that this student, these allegations are being made about bullying in your school, and you have to investigate it because there's a paper trail. So not just reporting to your principal, but also filling out that form online, reporting bullying, because they get held accountable at the district level. They get held accountable. Did you investigate this? What was the outcome? You have to report back to us. But as far as the actual definition, it has to be severe, persistent, or persuasive to fall in the category of bullying. Then we have another code for harassment, but that's a whole nother topic. The term, it depends on the severity or what the allegations is. I've conducted bullying investigations that have lasted a day or two. That's something that's not severe. If somebody reports, my child is being bullied, usually what we do is we put the aggressor or the offender on a 2-day summary suspension so that we can investigate it and see if it falls into the category of bullying. If it's something that's so severe, we have to report it up to the district, and they send out a team and they investigate it, and then those can take 3 to 6 months. But with those, if it comes back that it's been bullying, then those consequences are going to be very severe. But if it's handled on the local level, it just depends on the severity of what we find. If it's bullying, if it's just a conflict, those consequences can range from out-of-school suspension to a safety plan to a no-contact contract to change the classroom, just different interventions that we try to put in place in order for the victim to feel safe at school. And then also if retaliation, like you were saying, but retaliation happens after that, then the severity goes up. That's when you get into more of the longer OSS days, or you go into alternative school, or we bring in law enforcement if it's that severe.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. It's one topic I want to bring up that we hadn't discussed that's very important. The suicide rate of our students and young people have gone up tremendously. A lot of it's for bullying, cyberbullying, but especially in that LGBTQ community. Dr. McKenna, Dr. Mall, anyone on the panel, Dr. Sergeant Johnson, want to touch on that topic because it's something we don't like to talk about, but we really, really need to talk about on a continuous basis, constantly, because the suicide rate is astronomical.
In reviewing some of the statistics about bullying, it showed that the LGBTQ plus IA community, youth who identify, those statistics actually are higher. The bullying, experiencing depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations, as well as plans for suicide, they're actually a lot higher than youth that don't identify with that social group.
What I was going to say to this is that it does start, sometimes we may think that, oh, this is a older student situation, but this does start as early as elementary for some. So from the counselors, we are making sure that we talk to those students about their differences. I remember at the beginning of the year, I have a student who falls within this category, and we had a support team with the parents, with the students, so that we know like their correct pronouns, how they want to be addressed, and things like that. And if anything comes up, that student feels comfortable coming to the counseling office to talk about whatever it is that they have going on. And most times it can be a situation where the other students are just not aware, or sometimes they're just being mean. And in those cases, if both students are if they agree, then we have restorative sessions, but we definitely try to keep having individual sessions to just make sure that if, that student, how much they want to disclose in the classroom or to other students, that we still empower them and protect them in that way.
Also, something that's really important as we try to be more inclusive in how we support and provide resources to students from different walks of life is that education, like knowing, being aware, even if it's something as simple as the terms, right? To show respect. And as adults and teachers or law enforcement officers, when we have these interactions with students who identify with this group, even if it's something that we don't understand, becoming educated so that way then we can advocate and support them when they are experiencing challenges from other students or bullies who don't understand, that we can provide that education and explain how, hey, this is something I didn't understand before either, but through learning and being open to in communicating, to be in support of, or you don't have to support. If that's not, if that's not what you support, that's fine, but you will be respectful. And we can only demand that respect for other students through educated and being educated ourselves.
I definitely agree with that, and I would say that that is something that is probably still a work in progress, because there are not a lot of things that we do to address that situation. The student that I had, particularly before I got there, they were already a different name and maybe looked a little different. So our students just, at this point, they accept it. So it wasn't anything, and this is my first experience with it, so it wasn't anything that I had to do to talk to the other students, unless it was a situation where, like Sergeant Johnson said, you may not agree with it, but please be respectful. But there is always also an opportunity for them to come and have those conversations if they need to. But it is something that we definitely need to work on within the schools.
I can't speak specifically to the school situation, but I can definitely think of an experience that I had with two different students. So I had a female athlete come into the boxing program, and one of our male athletes, she explained how she identified, and it was something that was very new to him that he didn't agree with. And a tension developed between the two of them. We're there for a specific reason. We're there, we're learning how to box. It's non-contact. The kids get to learn all kinds of different things in terms of how to box, how to move, being evasive. And so my goal was to, hey, let's pause, take a moment, because it is okay that you guys don't agree. That is okay, right? There were certain things that he didn't understand and certain things that she may have wanted to share with him to help him understand, but at the time, it wasn't the time or place. So for me, the blanket is just respect. So I'm not forcing a student who identifies with the LGBTQ plus IA community versus a student who is against it. I'm not forcing them to teach each other or to sit and dive deep. It's just that there will be respect. We're here together to learn how to box. So let's keep it at that. Let's keep the environment positive. And because we don't promote bullying and we're anti-bullying, just to figure out a way to redirect the conversation. Redirect the conversation, acknowledge that we're all humans here, and we're just all gonna respect one another. And yes, that's way easier said than done, but for the purpose of why we're there and wanting to be inclusive and wanting kids who are experiencing bullying or are having a rough time at home or are feeling they are victimized in other ways, we want to make the space safe for all the kids that come in. And so sometimes that is a challenge, and there's not always a code to follow to do it. And we sometimes operate in a gray area. There's no black or white. We just figure out the best way to do it so that the program is conducive and something positive for all the kids that we encounter.
I'm under the impression, or it is my experience, that the kids are more open and understanding than we could ever imagine because they are born into a culture where this is a way of life. And so from the cartoons they watch to everything else, this is a norm. It is for adults like myself and those of us who are older who have biases and judgments tied up in our souls based on our religious beliefs and everything else. It is the older people who don't understand how to deal with that community of young people. And I'll give an example about why it's really challenging for me. I go out of my way to pour positively into every kid, I really mean that, but I've encountered a kid for the first time that goes by the they, them pronoun. Now, I want to always positively pour into that kid. My struggle with communicating with that kid is how my brain works. I told the kid it's plural. And because it's plural, I was really struggling with using the right. So I just started to call the student by its name. It goes by LJ. And it made a big difference. So I was able to support that kid, show that kid respect and honor, not make them feel less than because they identified in a way that I don't understand. And the solution for me was call them by their name. If you address them by their name and not their pronoun, you're okay. So for us older people who have to learn, I just wanted to share that with you. But I do want to say the kids are not confused. The kids have no trauma. It is a way of, it's the only way they learned it. It's us.
It is a problem. We actually talked about it this morning. I have a niece now who identifies, her name is Christina. We call her Miracle, but she identifies as Charlie now. And I will tell her in a minute, if I say Miracle, I'm sorry. Like, don't charge it to my, my heart, but I immediately will apologize. It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. It has nothing to do with but I respect Miracle. See, Charlie. But that's the problem we do have with the adults in the building, is that In my classroom, when I taught, it's all about respect, and we teach what respect looks like. And that's part of the things I train with teachers. Respect looks different for everyone. We have to remember that. We're in the Bible Belt, we're in the South. We think everybody's to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes or no, sir. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. We got people from all over the place. It's how you teach respect, what it is. But teachers are going to be fearful. And we got to teeter time and be careful of that conversation we have, because now I can see a mama coming in my classroom. You told my child it was okay to do. No, so you're going to have teachers that are going to be standoffish on that conversation, not want to talk about it. But you ought to be mindful of what you're saying in your home, because like was said earlier, oh, they're going to repeat what you said in your house, and it's coming back. And I think training comes into play, and it's not just in the schools. That's a community thing that we need to talk to. My daughter danced, and I remember one point I said, LJ can't come to any more dance performances with Trinity, because he would ask too many questions, and I just wasn't ready to answer those questions. And I'm just being honest. And it got to the point where we're in a parade, and he'll see, Mama, why he got a beard and makeup on, and he's wearing it? I didn't want to have to deal with it. He's 4. I don't want to have to talk about that now. And really it was because I didn't know how. I didn't know how. I'm an educated person, but I didn't know how to talk to him about that. And so I think that's training that we may need in our churches, in our community, as well as in our schools. We can, and like Jefferson Street is a partner, a pencil partner, and I'm so proud to be a part of this church who reaches out. But can I tell you, we've called pastors, and they would tell us no and don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's just reality, and people don't want to talk about it. We've called on churches that will flat out tell us nope, they don't have time for that. I am thankful to be a part of a church that reaches out to the community, but all churches do not. And so a lot of people just don't want to ask. So yes, you can be a pencil partner like we are. You can give back. You can reach out. We have a lot of community organizations that come into the schools that do a lot of things. But like I said, depending on the topic and the subject, we still have to be mindful and careful of what's being said. We just had a program last summer at McGavick, and CC Winan was on the program. And she's a minister. So she started ministering, and the people in the district was cringing, and we had all these different faces, and it was scary. And they were trying to get her to stop. Why was she gonna stop? That's what she's called to do. She's a minister. You put her on program, you knew. She gonna preach. And it was a big problem. It was literally a problem. They probably won't call her back again. But you have to be mindful. It was good, but then when you had the other face that were there, it wasn't good for them. People get mad about everything. Do y'all know we were doing graduations at churches because it was free? You know, people complain. That stopped real quick, because people, why are they graduating? The district was trying to save money so they could put money towards other things. People had a problem when we used the larger churches to hold graduations. It lasted 1 year. The community it was outraged. So those are the things. There's a lot of red tape that a lot of people don't understand that the district goes through. But churches can give. We can reach out, and a lot of churches do. You'll see Pastor Jeremiah and Temple post all the time. They don't do anything but come in and bring some teachers donuts. Teachers like to eat, y'all. If y'all just want to help a teacher, bring a donut, a gift card. I promise you, because teachers are stressed, and just showing that you care. They Jefferson Street fed Robert Churchwell lunch yesterday. That's major. So churches can come in and do a lot. Oh, we had a question. Hey, Mama. You gonna get that information, Mr. Bell, or I can get it for her? You know, that's a shame your mama need that information. You sitting right here and have access to all of that, Lamont Bell.
She didn't ask.
She's a bully.
I can get you in contact with Ms. Buggs. She's the CEO of Pencil Partner. Yeah.
I hate to stop the questions. That we're having really good conversation, and we can continue the conversation after this is over, as long as the panel and speakers can remain and answer any questions. But I do want to be sensitive of the time as well, and our commitment to that. So I do want to bring up Rena Salah. Rena is a former Metro public school student. She was bullied, and she is going to come and share her personal experience. And we can see how beautiful she is. She's moved beyond it.
So I will say, my name is Rena. Diane just doesn't know how to say it right. But anyways, throughout my life, I have been through the highs and lows. Growing up, I wasn't ever seen as the cool kid or someone popular. I was looked at because of my body, and I was undervalued as a human being. In elementary school, I was diagnosed with type 3C diabetes. The type I have is rare and more difficult to deal with. I had kids calling me disease girl, and they made me feel disposable. If they touched me, my desk, or any of my belongings, then they'd run to the hand sanitizer bottle and squirt it all over themselves. As a kid, going through something like that alters your mind. At 5 years old, I discovered what depression was. When people saw me having to leave class all the time for my unstable blood sugars, they were jealous because I got to miss class. So they picked on me for all the times that I would fall asleep in the classroom because my blood sugar was so high I couldn't even keep my eyes open. My mind was so cluttered I couldn't even function. At 10 years old, I made my first suicide attempt. Depression told me that it was the only escape from the pain. In middle school, I was referred to as a terrorist. I remember being pushed around, being chased, being spit on, being kicked, and being treated as if I were nothing. When depression came to me, it felt like something that was saving me when nobody else would. So I gave into it and let myself fall deeper and deeper until I didn't know who was looking back at me in the mirror. At 15 years old, I started using self-harm to cope with my pain. Once I entered high school, I became numb. I started to dress however I wanted, despite my mother's opinion on more makeup and high heels. I walked the halls without a care in the world of others' opinions of me. Deep down, though, I was hurting. All I wanted was for somebody to free me from the cage I felt trapped in. The cage was riddled with negativity, pain, words that cut me, feeling undeserving of being loved the right way. the faces of the people who were jealous of me and treated me like I was nothing because they wanted what I had. They wanted to steal the light radiating out of me, regardless of all the darkness. I dealt with so many mental battles at that time, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, BPD, and the list goes on. It wasn't just being bullied at school that tore me down and created a monster within my mind, but it was also what I had to come home to, a family, or more so parents, that never really saw me or heard me or loved me in the ways I needed most. Trauma comes from many avenues, whether it be from school, social media, your own home, or even just walking down the street and being looked at like a piece of meat. I could stand here and say that God was the answer I needed my whole life, and maybe he was at the time, but I'm still trying to form a connection with him now. One thing I can say, though, is that once I realized why they wronged me, or rather that what they'd said and done wasn't true or okay, that was the moment I began to grow. Last year, in 2023, was when my depression stopped defining me, and I finally told it that I am in control. Last year was when I started to love myself the right way, because my own parents and relationships I was in never would. I have 3 people in my life who have shown me that I am worth loving, and that's my sister Dima, the person who became a mother to me, Diane Watson, and my daughter Nadia. See, when I first came into foster care, Diane gave me some tough love because, well, I was hard-headed and stubborn and I kind of needed it. She showed me that I am worth loving and that I am enough. She made me feel more loved within those 2 years of living with her than I ever did the previous 15 years with my own mother. Nobody is a perfect parent, but Diane is the perfect parent for me. Though I don't show it all the time, I love her with every bit of my heart. She reintroduced me to God, had me go to church with her every Sunday, and each time I went, my connection to God grew. If it wasn't for Diane, I wouldn't be the woman and mother I am today. She saved my life when I was ready to end it and gave me a place to really call home, which was anywhere she was. She filled the empty void I had in my heart. My whole life, I feared getting closer with God, but eventually realized that there is no life without him. So my message to you all today is that you don't give up, that even through the darkness, you have the strength to overcome any obstacles you face. Trust in God and have trust in yourself. Most of all, don't ever veer off the tracks of your faith, because if you read the Bible close enough, you'll realize all the answers you need are right there. God and Jesus both have sacrificed so much for us to live the life we are now. Don't give in to your depression, anxiety, or suicidality, but instead, give in to, or rather give yourself to God. That will be your awakening from the hurt. Place your heart elegantly unto him, and all the answers you seek will be answered. You are loved, cherished, and valued. See that, breathe that, and live that within yourself, and you will be freed from the cage you're trapped in. Thank you.
Let's give Rena, did I say it right that time? Rena, another round of applause. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate that. And I agree, Diane is a wonderful person.
That's hard to follow, but yeah, amazing testimony, and kind of speaks to what you're about to see now. Just to kind of sum it all up, we may not be able to control how we're bullied, but we can find a way to control how we respond to it. Introducing Dominique Webb, who is going to minister to us in dance to the song Beautiful by Christina Aguilera.
We have a few gifts that we want to pass out. I don't know if we need to take this on the road to some other places or not, but I do want to thank our speakers. I never take it lightly when people agree and say yes instead of saying no. They don't expect anything in return. But as a part of Jefferson Street Baptist Church, we have a small token for each of you. And there's a monetary thing in there, so don't just throw it to the side. Make sure you at least get that. But we do appreciate all of your commitment to this event. We met several times by phone. They were right there, always willing to do whatever to make sure that this all came together. So we certainly appreciate them. And I cannot forget my partner in crime, Stephanie Coleman. I appreciate you. She's always going to take it, run with it, and I know it's going to be perfect. So thank you.
Shout out to the health ministry at J Street with the vision to put on such an awesome experience. We've had a lot of rich things said today. Dominique, your dance was absolutely beautiful and it moved me. I'm going to take advantage of being in church by reminding you, love conquers all. Love conquers all. And here at J Street, we are loved by Christ to love like Christ. The day has come to an end. We're going to say goodbye. We want you to know we have gift bags on the other side. Please do not leave today without a gift bag for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we hope to invite you back here again, if not for a bullying ministry, then hey, for praise and worship. Thank you. We are dismissed.